And I see, hey, people are starting. Come on in, get comfortable, go get some food. Hey, go get a drink. It's John Maakaron.
Grab that
Right?
popcorn.
Grab a real American beer. Just chill out.
Yeah.
Please welcome, and as always, this segment is brought to you guys by BetUS. Please welcome the man, Detroit Lions on Sports Illustrated's own, the host of the Detroit Sports Podcast, Mr. John Maakaron. John, how you doing, my man?
Man, it's the bye week. It's the best week of the year for beat writers. Thank God we can drink legitimately. We can drink the Grit City all night long and no consequences, baby.
Hey, I love that, Doc. Hey, Doc, and I want to start off and ask you, just pick your brain, and we can even start with just the Monday night game. I want to ask you with the Jared Goff, what'd you think of his performance specifically, this offense finally getting back to what we know them to be, and looking explosive? I get the Seahawks didn't have a couple defensive linemen, but John, Jared Goff, perfect game. He caught a touchdown. The Lions didn't put a ball in the dirt the entire game. On paper, at least. Statistically, they did. What'd you think of the performance on Monday night?
Yeah, it was great, man. Monday Night Football, the crowd was electric. It was good to see. Look, and I said it on the latest Detroit Sports Podcast I recorded today. Look, you never want players to go down, but the injuries that the Seahawks and the Lions suffered just made it so that another game was going to be high scoring. And I just loved it. And to me, it was a perfect game. I just thought that offensively, you looked at it and you said, hey, what better way to handle business than to hand the ball off to David Montgomery and have him, run through defensive backs. He just is an angry runner, and it was a measured game. And look, I just think that Jared Goff easing into the season, first 4 games, Dan Campbell said, look, he didn't come out and, outright and say it, but the first month of the season, when you have these starters that do not play in the preseason, it's going to take them time to get into rhythm. Boy, did he get into some nice rhythm, spreading the football around to Amon-Ra St. Brown, that lovely route to Jamison Williams where J-Mo's high stepping from the 40. Look, Goff was within himself, but we have to have the caveat, guys, okay? I saw a certain individual who's a gambler, and I read his takeaways every week. Jared Goff is God. Jared Goff is the legend of all legends. Jared Goff is Joe Montana. I almost was going to drop a calm down, but I said, you know what? I'm going to take a couple days before I see him in person and talk to him directly. Booner, Seattle was down guys. And yes, Detroit was down guys, but the guys that were down for Seattle were the biggest, baddest pass rushers on their team. So that's why Goff had a nice, clean pocket. He was able to handle his business. So, yes, it's good to go out and execute against the guys that you faced. But now what anybody else that's calm and rational would look at it and say, okay, now go do it when the badass pass rushers are there. But, hey, 3-1 at the bye. It was a great performance all the way around, top to bottom.
Doc, hey, I respect your opinion. I do. I'm learning some things in life. I respect your opinion. I would like to also see him do it versus some elite pass rushers, because guess what he's going to have to do in the playoffs? He's going to have to do that. So I'm with you, Dak.
So honestly, though, wait, before your question, Booner, those aren't takeaways. Those are just, I want to come out there and just give all love to the Lions. So
for sure.
You didn't take away anything from that. You just said, you know what? I just want to go out there. And so you don't call it takeaways. You say, here's why I love the Detroit Lions. So I'm telling you what to do. Stop calling them. Those are not takeaways. Those are not takeaways. Is Jared Goff's a legend? Jared Goff is the baddest 16. Oh, shut up, all the haters. I look at that and I go, I know he's posting that laughing on the inside, but those are not takeaways from a game.
All right, Doc,
those
let me read you my takeaways.
The blue Kool-Aid and share with everybody what my opinion is.
Let me give you my takeaways, because I think
all the takeaways, Boone.
Kirby Joseph is an all-pro safety. That's a takeaway, correct? The Detroit Lions have the best offense in the NFL. That's a takeaway. J-Mo is an absolute weapon. Takeaway. Ben Johnson is currently back. That is a takeaway. And the slander of Jared Goff is officially over. Those are all takeaways. Those are takeaways, Doc. Those might be Booner takeaways. They might be Booner takeaways, but they're takeaways.
What's going on, guys? It's Jeff Iafrate. I interrupted today's video to tell you about the sponsor of today's video, and that is BetUS. And they are offering the Crunch Time Sports community 150% on your guys' first 3 deposits with promo code YouTube150. Promo code YouTube150. head to betus.com. They have a ton of lines that you can get in on now. Like this one that I really do like a lot. Aiden Hutchinson, 2-win Defensive Player of the Year. He comes in with the 6th best odds at plus 1,100. I'm going to go ahead and put $100 to win $1,100 and lock it in. There you go. And not just this, there's a ton of other lines, Detroit Lions related, and go check them out only on BetUS. Let's get back to the video.
Doc, I love you. I do want to ask something negative, though. I usually don't, but I do want to ask something negative. The defense, Doc. What's going on with this defense here? What are your thoughts? Like, it felt like it was the corners, the secondary a little bit. What are your thoughts on it? Was it because of Brian Branch being out and losing Derek Barnes? Or is it like it seems like the pass rush has been there a little bit more than we've seen in the past. So what are your takeaways, at least with this defense? And like, what do they need to do to be able to kind of take a step forward? Because they were top 10 the first 3 weeks. And then this last week, it just felt like everything just went out the window. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it was wild. Look, from an entertainment standpoint, that's why the league likes offense, right? And for the commenter, I loved Kenneth Walker running all over the place. Former Spartan dog got all over the place. He's on my fantasy team. So clearly I was a fan. I loved it because the Lions were dominating offensively and Kenneth Walker was doing his thing. I almost let out a cheer when he did that 21-yard touchdown. I was like, oh, that's a Spartan dog doing his thing.
Yeah.
He's great, man. He's great. So it's perfect for me. I was the one that had the biggest smile on my face because the Lions were winning and Kenneth Walker went off. Defensively, yeah, it was not their best night. But look, there's some things that Seattle does that they kind of took from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Matthew Stafford as well, which is, hey, you got it, 1-2, boom, deliver the football. You negate the pass rush when you're getting rid of the football that fast. And look, Seattle has great weapons. Tyler Lockett, Geno Smith, and DK Metcalf have been together for a while. So they understood, they have great chemistry. And whenever you have a great run game, look, that's just offensive football. Kenneth Walker opened things up. So you have to respect that a little bit. That gives attention to, the running backs. And then clearly when you have a wide receiver of the caliber of DK Metcalf, you get him the football. And within the flow of the game, the officials were just terrible calling all those flags. So then clearly you're going to target and see if you can move the football and see if you can draw some flags. And yeah, the tackling was atrocious. It was not a good game. I just thought that for whatever reason, the Seattle Seahawks have Aaron Glenn's number. And look, it was still better than before. And I think that what is opportunistic and what's great about this football team with the Lions is that, hey, when the defense this game was not their best, the offense picked it up. And boy, the Lions definitely got bailed out by their offense. But look, that's kind of where you look at it and you say, hey, in a game where it's going to be high scoring, the Lions understood that. Jack Campbell knocked the football loose. In our story where we write what's that in the locker room, I asked him, I said, I see you, doing that punch out drill all the time. He's like, yeah, man, I've been working on trying to get a takeaway for months. I just have always kind of wanted to do it. I want to get the football loose. I want to force a turnover. I want to be impactful. And it really meant a lot to him to finally cash in. And then, Kirby Joseph is just unreal in regards to his ability to get the football. So they made the plays late, and that's critical, and that's also a valuable takeaway.
And Doc, I know we're talking about the Lions right now, but I kind of want to take a step outside of it because it still kind of correlates with them. When you watch what the Minnesota Vikings are doing right now and how they are playing, how legitimate of a threat, A, do you think they're better than the Lions right now? And 2, how much of a threat do you think they are not only the NFC North, but to the NFC as a whole if they keep this up?
Yeah, that was another advantage of having the Monday night game was I got to enjoy Sunday football, got to have the televisions up, and then get to do it again this Sunday. Got the red zone.
Yeah,
and so
you got a hell of a setup, Doc. You got a hell of a setup. I will say that.
It's great. It's a great setup to sit back, watch 11 hours of football. So I watched the Vikings and the Packers. I watched the Bears and watched the Chiefs and the Chargers, and then the main event, which was, I thought, spectacular to watch, was the Ravens really handle the Bills. So to me, I thought the Ravens had a spectacular performance. That scared the shit out of me because I was like, and I had to post about it on Twitter. I said, man, Ravens, Lions, who matches up when they're both playing their best? A lot of fans were measured. Not a lot of Booners in the crowd. They were all saying Baltimore. They were all like, what the hell are you talking about? If the Lions play their best and the Ravens play their best, it's Baltimore all day. So, okay, so some measured responses. But looking at Minnesota, man, right? Everyone's like, what the fuck has happened to Sam Darnold? Now he looks like a player that can throw the football. Well, what happened to him is he's got Justin Jefferson and his gritty self, his good old self doing his thing. And guess what? He's also on my fantasy team too. So his gritty dance, I definitely got on my phone. And I can share now, if the Lions win the Super Bowl, I have recorded several varieties of gritty dances from my basement, and they're all fly as hell. They're all going to be Detroit Lions gritties that are beyond spectacular. I will go viral if the Lions win the Super Bowl. But I'll say this: the Vikings, look, it's Kevin O'Connell is a legit, great coach, and they got a nice weapon in Justin Jefferson. Jones going over there has really solidified things. But in the end, when people say, okay, let's look at Minnesota and let's look at their threat, I just think in crunch time, the Lions can get to him and he'll blink first. I think in a matchup with the Lions and the Vikings, he'll blink first. The matchup that scares me in the Super Bowl now is if the Lions get to the Super Bowl against the Ravens, I could see Terrion Arnold getting bounced off the ground from Derrick Henry. I could legit see it because the dude is a monster and he's outrunning a safety at full speed. And he got up to 21 miles an hour on his run. And when you outrun a safety, it's no easy feat with a man that size. So let's just hope that the Lions are playing their best football down the road. But I'm not scared of Minnesota. I'm not scared of Minnesota at all. I think you pressured Sam Darnold, he'll throw you the football.
Doc, I get what you're saying about Derrick Henry moving down the field, but you better hope that Nate Wiggins doesn't see David Montgomery. I'll tell you that much. I'll tell you that.
Nate, it's too small. It's too small.
Yeah, and Doc, we kind of going back to the defense, we got to see our first looks at James Houston. Obviously, that was not what a lot of people were expecting, maybe what some were expecting after kind of what boiled down with him making this roster and whatnot. Obviously, it wasn't very good. Got a few penalties, really didn't look like the James Houston of the past. Kind of just want your thoughts on him, or is this going to be like the last time we see James Houston, do you think?
Well, you brought up James Houston, so that means automatic drink. Ooh, let me get my thoughts together. James Houston, huh? You want to talk about him, huh? Okay. Okay. Well, his stat line was, that's about it, and 2 penalties. So it was horrible. Oh man, he only got 14 snaps. It's just, I think it's a chemistry thing now going on. He clearly, was out, he didn't do the job to the best of his ability to showcase why he deserves more playing time. And it's unfortunate, you would like to see a little bit more impact, but at this, you can't take those penalties. It's a hindrance now. So that's not a good sign for a player that people thought could do something. So there's probably, a dual situation where the coaching staff is like, okay, we know that he can't do more than just a couple things. And he's sitting there probably disenfranchised, frustrated that it's not going well. The year that he had off just really ruined his development. And I just think that, I just think that this marriage probably is going to end maybe at the trade deadline, maybe when his contract is up. I don't think the future is going to be that much longer for James Houston. It doesn't seem like he fits in, right? It just seems like he's there. The fans they see the potential, but when you go out there and you hurt your team, it's just not a good sign.
Yeah, I mean, Doc, and you do it, and this is why we appreciate you and the way you cover the Lions, because I see across my timeline today a lot of Lions fans, sharing Dan Graziano of ESPN's little insight to who could be, interested in Devontae Adams, what teams make sense, and he put the Lions there. It makes no sense. The only Raider I think the Lions should be interested in is Max Crosby. I don't think they'll ever trade him. But in your opinion, your thoughts on that report, but also Josh Pascal's play and just kind of the Lions in their need for an edge, like a kind of a bookend at this point. And it's something the Lions potentially could be interested in come the trade deadline.
Yeah. Look, and here, you guys can now, as you guys consumed information on a daily basis, you start to see how reports are framed. And the word that was key in Dan Graziano's report is potentially. Okay. So what that means is when these guys start to make their list, look, I can share how it goes. The editor will say, hey, Dan, which teams could potentially want to have Devontae Adams? And then he'll just go and he'll start reading and he'll look and he'll see, okay, well, the Lions have cap space. They've kind of been reports all over the place that the The team is still looking for a wide receiver 3 and maybe not as comfortable. So that's a potential fit. Now, the difference is if it's more serious, you start to hear report like it's heating up. The Lions have inquired. So look, it makes no sense. Why does that report not make any sense? And I know people will gravitate toward that. And I could have wrote the headline that said, the Lions are potentially a landing spot for Davante Adams, but I think we've covered that before. We've gone through the gamut of a lot of players at this point. But the reason why Davante Adams makes no sense, he's 31 years old. If you're going to make a trade, they want a second rounder and another asset, and he's going to want another contract. And he's not coming here for $10 million. He wants Amon-Ra money, like, hey, I'm the guy with the most touchdowns. I'm a legit weapon. And I just don't think that that's a fit in any capacity. I would be shocked if I'll send you a Grit City bottle of bourbon if they end up with Davante Adams, because I see him going to New Orleans or the New York Jets or Pittsburgh. I do not see in any capacity that this football team would go and do that. And the blessing is Brad Holmes did an interview where he said, the great reporter, Brad Galley, great television host, he asked legitimately Brad Holmes, fans like Booner, they want to go all in. And hey, he's like, you know what? Look, I'm not a prisoner of the moment. We got to look at the present and the future. He's like, I talked to the guys and I know the demand to go all in and to make the trade and stuff like that, but I don't see that happening. I think that they would take on a guy that maybe has a 1-year deal left or has, an opportunity to prove themselves. So yeah, I could see some things at the deadline. Blockbusters, I don't think so, because you also have to sign Aiden, J-Mo down the road, Jack Campbell. You have all these guys that are already on your roster that you have. So it's always fun. Look, the GM stories, look, I do them. Clearly, I do them. Why do I do them? Because people read them. Now, you just have to read between the wording of the realism of it. So we typically, the way in which I do the GM story is simple. I just call it pros and cons. Like, let's just discuss it. You know what I mean? I don't do official, Lions are significantly interested in this guy. I just look at it like, let's talk about it. Like, what's the contract value? Is he worth it? And things like that. And so also too, guys, Tim Patrick, those 2 catches were nice. He's coming on. Yeah. So Davante Adams, you don't need him. You really, like you said, like you guys are focusing in on, if you're going to make a move, focus on defense, because Josh Pascal was okay, but I just think that you can find better out there. I think the name that you saw that flashed on Sunday was Trey Hendrickson. I was like, man, that guy would look good in the Lions.
Talk uniform. To me, Doc.
He would look good. That's a name that I don't know if we did it yet. It's early in the month. I feel like we've done like really every single free agent that's out there, possibly, because you do stories every single day. So I've done a little bit less of the GM stories at this point. But Trey Hendrickson looks nice. I think he'd look nice in the Lions uniform. But Josh Pascal, they like their own guys. And I know it's always fun to talk about, but the Lions are hesitant. Like I said, they need to check 5-6 boxes before they bring on somebody. So it's always tough, but we'll see at the deadline how it's shaking out. But look, the pass rusher has been okay. It can be better, but it's been okay.
And John, real quick, I just want to add on to that. Do you think, and I got to watch here, all right, because Brad, trust the man. I'm with you. But do you think sometimes that can be a flaw of like falling in love with your own guys? Because there's got to be a moment in time where you just kind of look at a player and be like, maybe he's not enough. Like, you get what I'm saying? Can that sometimes be a weakness to trust your own guys too much? Like, it's good to do, but sometimes you got to know when to do it, when not to do it.
No, absolutely. And the Lions have taken calculated risks, but they've been on guys that have been injured. And I'd like to see them take a calculated risk on somebody that kind of is a little bit more productive, a little bit higher end. And and here's the thing. With players, the Lions have come in and said, and it speaks to the way in which teams are built. The Lions have come in, Brett Holmes has come in and said, the way we're building sustained success, that key word to keep general managers here for a long time, draft and develop. Draft, you know why? Because you do all your research. You actually talk to the player. You get a sense of, hey, go on the board and do this. Okay, then Dan Campbell's going to scribble it out and say, do what happens in this situation. Throw a couple zingers out there. Throw a couple scenarios and see how they adapt. Look at it psychologically. The Lions clearly like guys with a certain mindset. And free agents are different. And here's why. Naturally speaking, when you sign a guy that you just haven't done work on, there's always that fear that, hey, if I give you $15 million a year and over the next 5 years and $75 million guaranteed, are you going to run through the wall through the absolute diehard, do it all mentality? There's some naturally propensity to kind of settle a little bit. So I just think that having young, hungry guys is also a great asset for the Lions, because these guys are fighting for their contracts. You're going to get the absolute most out of a player, and they're just scared that, hey, you invest in somebody, now you've just wasted this cap space on somebody that's kind of, what Antonio Pierce said, which was damning, but you saw people have found the play. Antonio Pierce, when the Raiders were losing, said, hey, some of these guys are going into business for themselves, and you can't have that. You can't have guys letting up on tackles. You can't have guys show up from outside and then impact things, because a couple bad apples and they don't produce, it's going to upset the apple cart. So I understand the philosophy. I understand, but I'm also understanding what Brad's saying. So you got to go out there, basically, to me, just get the best guys. Get the guys that have the best opportunity to fit here, and get one or two guys. I think they're going to do it. I think they're going to shore up this team. They're not going to sacrifice 1 million draft picks to do it, but they're going to get some guys here at the trade deadline. I truly believe it, because this football team is going to give Brad Holmes every reason to make the full run for the Super Bowl, because this team can win it. This team can do it. And I think that there will be opportunities to add, no doubt.
Hey, Doc, I do want to throw out there, it is the bye week, obviously. How good of timing do you think this is? Because I know a lot of people were upset with the early bye week, but it does feel like with a guy like Frank kind of down a little bit, there's been some guys who have been beat up. Is this kind of a good timing going into the bye week? Guys feel good, get some guys back. Will Frank, I guess specifically, will Frank be back for Dallas? Or what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no doubt. Real fast in the chat, if you got questions, fire them away. These guys will ask. Like I said, I feel like I'm as much over the last 2 years in tune with what's going on with the Lions as anybody. I'm there every single day. So fire away. And to the guy that thinks I'm a Bulgarian drug dealer, look, man, give me the credit. I'm Mediterranean and Middle Eastern. We don't need to. We're more like the cartel. So I'm the drug lord, not the drug dealer. Come on, man. And so, looking at it from what you're talking about in terms of when it first came out, I was just like, fuck, 4 weeks. That's way too early. But the way in which the season shook out, it's perfect. It's literally, and actually with the training camp and the month of September, I went hard in August and September. And I think you guys saw I'm like showing up on everybody's podcast. I like all the time. I haven't said no in 2 months. And for me, I just looked at it and said, whew, it's good for me. The last 2 days, just sleeping 10 hours, I feel like on top of the world. And I told the Lions PR there when I talked to them in the locker room, they said, "You ready for the bye week?" I said, "Hell yeah!" And because you just kind of get away from it because you're so immersed in it, the stats, the numbers, the film, looking at the game for the future. So for the Lions, yeah, it came at the right time. They got to get healed up. Brian Branch should return. Ragnow, I think you need to be a little delicate with. I'm not sure if he'll return for Dallas because that's going to be a tough physical game. I think when you saw Graham Glasgow, that just gives you the utmost. I mean, Glasgow and Coyote, they just did a stellar job. Again, it's against a battered team, but they did enough to give you confidence that if you need to let Frank get a little bit healthier, then that's fine too. But it's going to be fun because guess what, fellas? The DOC is heading to Texas to try for the first time, getting on a plane in first time in 7 years, getting on a plane and handling business. And it's going to be crazy.
In Jerry's World, Doc?
Going to Jerry's World because everybody said it's the craziest place for the media. It's fun, food. And I don't know what's crazy. I don't know how I'm going to handle it, but they said that there's beer there in the media room. I'm like, they're going to serve the Doc beer? I better stay away. I'm just going to go for the ice cream sundaes and the crazy whatever food they got. But it's main event. If I got to see, you got to see Jerry World. You got to see it. So I'm going to be there flying out that Friday, the 11th. I can't wait for the 13th on the game. And the bye week just came at the perfect time. But like we said, and I think I said it to you guys, this should be the utmost motivation when Dan returns on Monday with these guys and say, hey, we got to fight for the next 13 weeks so that we can get that next week off for the bye week. Get the number 1 seed. Handle business because that's a grind. 13 straight games. You just want to be as healthy as possible to give yourself the best chance to compete. And I really want to see the Lions in the playoffs healthy because they're going to be a tough team to play. Physical, smart, good offensive players, and a growing defense. I just want all the pieces there and to give you the best chance to win.
Hey, don't let Doc get loose out in Dallas.
Don't let Doc get hot out there. Hell no.
Hey. Got some strip clubs out there, Doc. Hold on.
Yeah, just I'll make sure I got all your numbers, because I might text you guys like, hey, I'm in Mexico and I found myself next to some strange gal. I don't know. She's asking for money. I messed up. Can you come get me?
Yeah.
Latina, Doc? Latina?
Yeah.
Tina, all the way. Why not?
I'll be there to bail you out, Doc.
Thank you.
But another guy going with it, another guy that's been bailing the Detroit Lions out of situations is Kirby Joseph, Doc. Especially with Brian Branch being hurt last week, he really stepped up. After last week, and I think I was already kind of on the side of, okay, re-sign Kirby. Do you think that it could be potentially as soon as this offseason? If it happens, do you think it happens for one? And if they do, could it be this offseason with the Detroit Lions bringing back Kirby Joseph on a new deal?
Yeah, dude, he earned it, right? I think the guy is one of the great safeties, and the pairing with even with Brandon Joseph, he joked the Joseph brothers are now open for business. Look, man, the guy has, he's got the talent that everybody would want, which is, hey, be a ball hawk, secure the interception. He's just got the flair for the dramatics. I think that he embodies what the Lions are looking for: tough physical safety, still growing in terms of his consistency and coverage and recognizing everything. But when you're just a guy with that skill and you're able to impact the game, it's something that clearly he's going to be somebody that the Lions want to invest in, and he's earned it. And he's going to be the captain of the defense pretty soon because of his ability. Once he grows up a little bit in terms of maturity on the field too, in regards to, hey, making sure your game is consistent, game in, game out, man, no doubt about it. I think that they'll start those conversations. I'm curious too, because, with Ali McNeil too, there's got to be an odd man out. Could it be Ali McNeil? You got to pay him. He's great in the interior. So, the blessing is, though, that gives you some solace, is that this salary cap keeps going up higher and higher with numbers that are a little bit more surprising than normal. So that gives you another opportunity to go out there and handle it. But man, it's just great. Branch and Kirby together forever for a long time. It lets everybody rest easy.
The best safety duo in the league, Doc.
That'd be like a defensive Jameer and Monty, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yep. Agree with that.
And Doc, it's the bye week. Obviously, you got a week off. So let's talk some Tigers. Your thoughts on the Tigers win today and then their chances against the Guardians. Either way, it's going to be electric. Doc, what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, man. Now, finally good. We could talk some baseball, man. Look, it was great. I had a feeling, if you go back and check on the accountability report, I had a feeling this baseball team would take a step, not a playoff step. I just thought that when I did the season prediction, I had them winning 88 games. And once the season went, here's my accountability. With Javier Baez, that team was unwatchable. It was unlikable. It was ridiculous. And I had said somewhere else in the chat, I said, there's no way AJ Hinch is playing this guy based on his own choice. He's being told, play this guy, because that guy is a negative WAR player. He sucks. And what took so long, I joked with the injuries. You never want to joke with injuries, but when he'd have a ding up, I'd say, okay, this needs to be like a 6-month rehab. Just anything to get Javier Baez off my television. And what happened? Javier Baez is away from this lineup. The youth kicks in, and what happens? They're able to take off. And I just think that it's the starting point. So all those people that are like, oh, I was on the bandwagon forever. Okay, fine. Well, I was not on the bandwagon. I was on the I hate Javi bandwagon. I don't want to watch this. The memes are funny. I created some of them with the curveballs and the nonsense, but you don't really want to joke about that for a whole season. Once he was gone, oh my God, the youth movement kicked in. The guys actually with this bullpen outdid what they've kind of been known to do. This Tiger baseball team, look, it's a great thing to embrace the gritty Tigers. So it's been great. My love of baseball has been sparked again. I watch baseball, but to be honest, with Javier Baez, just start watching box scores. But now that this month kicked in, right when they started winning, and after that game in the against the series against the Yankees, I was all on board. I'm watching, and I'm like, okay, Scooble's still doing his thing, and craziness in that this theory that AJ Hinch did in regards to the opener when he first did it in Detroit. It was in the Zoom era, and I was on a Zoom call with him, and I asked him directly. I said, what's the benefit of doing it? Because everyone was like, this was like 3-4 seasons ago. and everyone was like, you have an opener. I know Tampa Bay's done it. A lot of people are starting to do it. I asked him his philosophy, and he directly told me that, hey, it does give us an advantage of knowing, what our guy's going to do, and the opponent doesn't know, because we could throw anybody in at any given time. And so I recalled that, and I said, man, AJ Hinch is just a great manager, and he was able to overcome the adversity that he faced in another spot. He came here, and he's managing like a wizard with a bunch of young guys that are hungry, that know no better. But at the same token, it's disrespectful to say young and dumb. I know we throw that out flippantly. Young and hungry. These guys just want to go out there and do the best. The sickest thing, I think, and I can't believe this, and I didn't do the research to confirm it, but the Spot Track tweet is the sickest tweet I think I've ever seen. This playoff payroll is $19 million total. What the fuck? Chris Ilitch must be like, if we can get $19 million production like this is great. He's gotta be like, I'm getting the best value in the history of sports without paying a superstar. He's gonna be like, Scott, we got to do this more often. This is the best thing I've ever seen. I'm going to get 2 gates at Comerica. I'm going to get some cash. I got a couple of cash gates with the watch parties. He's got to be the happiest man on earth, because he made some money paying the payroll $19 million. And the guy that we smacked around today, the reliever, he's making 19 on his own. So this team is great to watch. I've been like everybody else. I'm much more of an emotional fan in baseball than in football, because I'm around it. But baseball, yesterday, game 1, my heart was racing in the 9th inning. And then today I was, and luckily when I watch sports, and I know I'm going to be like that, I was by myself today. I was just watching. I was like, once Job was missing, I was like, what the fuck is going on? Job, can you not throw a strike? God darn it, AJ Hinch. How dare you throw this guy in this situation? A rookie? Are you effing kidding me? I was cussing up a storm and walking back and forth. I'm all in. I'm invested. I don't know yet. I haven't looked, but there's a chance, I'm going to apply for a credential to go Wednesday. If not, I'll find a way into the building. I want to be around it because I was all there when they went to the World Series twice. It just sparks so many great memories of the Leland era. And now you guys get to enjoy it in your youth. Enjoy it. Enjoy every pitch. Enjoy the ambiance of the game. Enjoy the nuance, the comeback that they had today. Take it all in. Baseball is a sport that you can really get emotionally invested in, and these Tigers have earned our respect. And go out there and support. And whatever happens, it's. And this is what a preview of my podcast tomorrow. I said, this is actually maybe a little bit even more fun than the Lions, because the Lions have expectations. This is what we know they need to do. This is crazy because it's like icing on the cake. It's like unexpected fun. It's like finding $100 bill in your pocket, and you're just like, hey, this is great. And whatever happens, you can go down this road, and the future's bright with Scott Harris. And it's good for him that a lot of these guys are showing out and doing things. These guys deserve it because it took a lot of shit, and now they're enjoying some of the fruits of their labor.
Well, and Doc, just your thoughts on Detroit sports. I mean, you have the Tigers who, won a playoff series first time in a long time. The Lions just did it. The Red Wings expected to make the playoffs. Then you have the Pistons kind of just, you're working your way back. We're trying to see if they have a pulse still. What's your thoughts on just kind of the uprise in Detroit sports and what it means right now to be a Detroit sports fan? Only one of few cities to have 4 sports teams, and 2 of them are in the playoffs. Well, one of them will be, and the other one is currently.
Yeah.
Great stat, Jeff.
Yes. And good job, Jeff. Good work. Good hustle. It's great. And I'll tell you this. I think my lucky stars, I think you guys see it. Maybe I do it too much. I don't know. But every week I thank God, and I post on Twitter, thank you guys for letting a regular guy that just covered sports literally cover all the Detroit teams and be able to podcast. And it was hard, but I love it. So the last 10 years don't feel like a drag because I'm optimistic. I like the rebuilds. I like the idea. I like complaining. So it's definitely more fun to win. Covering sports in Detroit is crazy because people will debate you. They will have great conversations. You got the extreme fans that just everything is perfectly all fine all the time. And then you got the wildly negative fans. You got the people in the middle. So Detroit has everything. The sports scene literally has everything that a person who loves sports would want. podcasts all over, networks all over, people embedded all over. It's just amazing. And now you look at the teams. I like the to me, I can respect the grittiness of the teams, but I also like the Deion Sanders superstar types too. Like, I'm okay with some guys that would come in. Like, could you imagine if the Lions signed a dude that would wear a fur coat in and out, like an Antonio Brown type, just a big personality that was young and flashy? They kind of go with the more low key kind of people, but at the same token, Flash is entertaining on that side of it. So the guys on the Lions are entertaining, but they do kind of fit that mold of let's be as tight knit as possible. But it's good because it used to be rebuild city here in Detroit. Now you're starting to see some of the fruits of the rebuild, and it's great with the Lions on the verge of potentially having another postseason run, the Tigers making a run. You have the Red Wings that I think are a season or two away from consistently making a run. The issue, the drunk uncle of Detroit sports is the Pistons. Man, they are brutal in everything that they do, top to bottom, from ownership to the way they run things. Literally, think about it. When Cade Cunningham signed his mega deal, did he talk? There was no media session. It was like, where was the pomp and circumstance for Cade? You have a media day. You wait a couple months for Cade to talk. The way the Pistons do things is like, I don't know. I don't know if they're anti-publicity. Like, they have their own people, but I think they're the furthest behind in terms of like, hey, you kind of got to get that social media guy to kind of hype up the guys on your team. Go like take the old reporter that you got there and have him stick a microphone in these players' face. He works for you. You need to kind of invest in these people talking to the media. Like, they're rough. And so that's like, they literally are the worst at everything. And again, now you hope that Trajan Langdon can come in and be like, what the heck is this? Scrape out all the sludge, fix all the issues, get this team a little bit further along, because the other three will pass them. And it sucks. It stinks because literally the Pistons, you can see it literally if you do a live show, you can see the metrics literally live dying as you talk about the Pistons. So you talk about the Wings and the Tigers and the Lions, and you stay afloat. And we just hope that the Pistons get into some kind of rehab and figure out how to get their act together so that we can talk about them in a realistic way instead of making fun of them. But the other teams, they're inching forward, and it's the best town. Detroit is literally the best town to cover sports. I couldn't do it. I always picture myself, okay, because, you naturally think, okay, you've done this for 6 years. You've reached the metrics of everything you've dreamed of. Could I, drop some weight, cut this off and put myself in front of the television and do reports and do other stuff? I don't want to go to Connecticut. I don't want to go to Florida. I want to do this. And so this is what I'm going to do forever. Like, unless something comes along that would blow me away and they just said, hey, this is Monty Williams type stuff, then I'm doing this for the rest of my life, because I wake up every day and I'm fired up. You guys see 7 a.m. There's a SI story, 2-3 appearances a week, all the stories, all the coverage. The blessing of covering sports is there's so much to do and talk about that you cannot get enough. And I told my friend this. I said, I'm not addicted to anything, but I'm addicted to Detroit sports. I love it. I love the competitiveness, the nothing like the roar of a crowd when they're happy. And these fans of Detroit deserve that. When they got that, the party that happened when the Tigers clinched was a release of emotion that these fans deserved. The party atmosphere, it's something that the investment that these fans give to these players, there's nothing like it in the world. And I'm glad to be part of it.
Well, hey Doc, what was it like at Ford Field on Monday night? I know I knew some people who were there, and I saw a lot of videos and things. But like just you mentioning there, the Detroit fan base, not just the Lions, but just Detroit in general. And you see Monday Night Football, and I'm sure you're going to see next week at Comerica Park on Wednesday night, just what this Detroit fan base is about. What was it like Monday Night Football? The Kelvin Johnson thing, the black uniforms were back, the just a massive win. It felt like finally beating the Seahawks. Was it rocking there?
Yeah, it's always different for me because, again, I've been now to several Monday night games. So for me, it's a work mode. So I try not to, because I get jealous. Like, literally, I'm jealous of the guys that get to sit with their friends and do watch party. I'm jealous, like truly jealous that I can't be a fan on, because I consider myself probably a big fan of the Lions, but I have to kind of shift into kind of work mode. So for me, it's a little different. The vibe is always great. It's loud as all hell all the time. So to me, it's become normalized to be part of that atmosphere. So I'm not paying attention to that. I got so many things to check off that it's like basically air traffic control. When I get in there, I sit down and then it's like, okay, who's, going to be inactive, getting some texts into some information that can be out, or looking at who's out there on the field. So it's a fun atmosphere. Ford Field is great. It's loud. And when the fans are roaring, it's just great. You immerse yourself in it, but I just can't, for me, allow myself too much to get into it because I'll get distracted. So I'm typing and I'm looking at a bunch of screens and figuring out everything that's going on. So it's unfortunate that right away when the Lions won, they jacked up the price 60% on these good fans. It's tough. A lot of good people that had tickets lost them because they couldn't afford it, and people are scrambling. The secondary market's killer. The average price to get into Ford Field is like $260, and for a family of 4 for one day, you're talking about $1,000. That's a little steep, in these times. So I look at it like it's a blessing and opportunity. I get to walk into that field and cover the team and take advantage of it to the fullest. It's a great place to watch football. I think it's nice. It's good seats for a majority of where you're sitting. It's pretty family friendly, in my opinion. And it's just for me, it's just tough because I'm in work mode. And real fast, I like what the guy said. If I owned the Pistons, I would I reminded the commenter of Tom Gores. I wouldn't be that bad. I think I would have more of a mouthpiece. I'd have Jeff kind of just do more of the talking for me. I'd be up there being like, having to calm people down. Like, you can't fire JP Pickerstaff after 5 games. I don't care. I want to win right now.
Yeah,
but I would not. No, I would have a mouthpiece. I would not try and make myself. You can't be like that. I know clearly I would say things that would not be taken well in any capacity. So I would have a mouthpiece, and but no doubt about it. I'll tell you this: if I ever shifted my attention to something like that of ownership, the Pistons would be world champs in 5 years, no doubt, or less. Because it would be the only thing I thought about would be holding that championship, and everything that I've touched has turned to gold. And it's through hard work, working with the right people. There's no way in hell 20 years would pass where the city of Detroit would be compensating me at a high level to not win a championship. No way in hell. I would be, I'd like to be considered the Robert Kraft of the Pistons.
Hey, Doc is an owner.
The Bob Kraft.
Yeah. No, you guys would be like, oh my God, Doc. He's got Natalie Kerwin as the GM. He's got, he's got different people where he's like, Doc. I'll be like, no, okay, you're right. I gotta, have more professional stuff like that. You know what? A lot of people do joke about it. They say, I would end up like the owner of the former owner of the Redskins, where he had all those nasty scandals and stuff like that. No, guys, I'm not like that. But you have to be tempted when you're a man in power. You're tempted, but no, I would keep it professional. I'd have all the people in front of me doing all the hard work. I would just be out there in front of, basically, you would see me basically just
getting
hiring
fed grapes. That's what you'd be getting.
I'd be hiring somebody to just a bunch of PR to make the Pistons look good. But I just can't believe the Pistons owner has done this bad a job. You really, it's so bad.
The worst franchise in all of sports right now. I think they're below the Panthers. They're below. There's no franchise in the country, any sport, any professional sport, that is worse than what's going on. And the Doc, he just went and bought the percentage of the chart. It's unbelievable. They should investigate this guy and get him out quick. Doc, he should get the team to you. I'm with you on that.
I don't know what
all the help they can get, Doc.
Yeah,
Doc, I don't know what I got to do to see a winner. I mean,
what do you got to do, man? It's this is different. This is better. I think starting with Cade is good. I like the foundation. I like at least the guys on the current roster can shoot. I think you'll get into the 20s in victories. It won't be as bad. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with these Pistons. But yeah, they're in the completely prove it to me mode, because they've not done a single thing that would indicate to me that investment in more than just, okay, briefly pay attention and check out how the games are turning out.
Doc, this team's so bad. We're talking about taking a step forward and winning 20 games.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Like that's an actual step forward. That's how bad we really are. It's just brutal, Doc. Brutal.
It's an absolute
they need you in the front office.
No doubt, right?
I just want to see something, Doc. I mean, I've been putting in some work here. Hey, I've been defending that franchise, and I'm excited to cover them this year. Hey, fellas. I mean, hey, we're gonna be covering them. I'm excited to cover.
Are you guys covering the Pistons? Are you guys covering the Pistons?
We're going to do our Jeff will, and we're all going to do our best to do what we can, Doc. I mean, you know how it is. We'll see how that works.
Yeah, the views. We got to watch the views.
I mean, I'm originally, Doc. I grew up a basketball guy. I was all basketball, so I would love for the Pistons to be good, so I could talk some hoops. But Doc, you're a guy that we're talking about. What do people want to hear? No one wants to talk about the worst franchise in all of sports.
Right. So in that sense, you got to be super entertaining. You got to be super inside and get all the players to talk to you. But whew, that's rough, man. That's a rough thing to try and cover. I give the guys that try that credit because that's a grind, and the fans tune out quick. 5 games in and nobody's paying attention. That's crazy. That's great. Right. And also too, baseball.
Really all it took.
162 games is a long grind. I get in and out September to December, man. It's great.
Hey, Doc, can I ask you this just specifically before we, because we've kind of been talking Detroit sports, but I do have a question regarding the Lions. Tim Patrick, what do you think of this? I mean, Tim Patrick's been impressing me, Doc. I mean, I'm not going to lie. Tim Patrick's looked very good. And on top of that, you're getting him for pennies, Doc. Pennies. And they seem to be trusting him more and more. He's someone that I think easily could fill that J-Mo role. Last year was like 300 yards. They can get that out of Tim Patrick. What do you think of what he's meant to this team now as the weeks go by, getting more and more involved?
Yeah, no doubt. I like it. I think that, he's a big-bodied receiver, gaining a little bit more chemistry. It's good to see him get a couple catches real fast to just divert real fast. I like the chat wanting me and Booner to throw down again. Look, we don't just organically want to fight. You know what I mean? We just, if there's something to debate, we'll debate it. But I think once Booner saw that he came for the king and he got chewed up and spit out, he ain't coming for the king.
I will say this, Doc.
He ain't coming for the king.
I'll go after anyone. I do not. I will never back down. What people don't know is Doc and I have a really good relationship.
Yeah.
I love the Doc. Doc took me under his wing at a PGA event and said, I don't know if we're allowed to say what we did.
Yeah, Doc. I'll tell him. I don't care.
Doc said, Booner, you're coming in the ropes with me. And he took me inside the ropes on the final round of the biggest, a massive tournament and said, you're walking with me, as there's security detail following us. And I'm shaking. And the Doc's like, Boone, you're with me. So I respect the Doc always. There's nothing.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I see you guys hustle and everything like that. So that's just fun too, because you got to have a little fun and a little risk. And I was like, to me, because I fought so hard to get inside the ropes, the first 2 years they kept me out. I was, my path in the media has always been, you get initial access, but there's limitations. And then finally, with the relationship with SI, everything has just been full on, come in, cover everything. And it's great. So I was just like, Booner, let's just come watch from this vantage point. You're not going to have a problem because, look, I'm the lowest risk person on earth. I'm 5'4". I'm very nice. There's never going to be an issue. I have the nice bright badge. What are they going to say? And so, and it's golf. They're just going to say, excuse me, sir. Excuse me, Booner. We're going to need you to step outside the lines. Okay, what are they going to do? They're not going to throw you out. There's some level of decorum in golf. So it was fun. Absolutely. So
imagine if I just got tackled on the 15th green. That would be tough, Doc.
Yeah. So Tim Patrick, look, man, I just think that he's going to steadily, you like that 2-3 catches, another option. But I do think that that's overblown because, look, again, 5 people. Look, you got to feed Jahmyr Gibbs. I asked Dan Campbell. He's like, he sees Jahmyr Gibbs being this close from breaking some big ones. You got to feed Jahmyr Gibbs. You got to keep feeding David Montgomery, Amon-Ra, Sam Laporta. Now I think is going to continue to emerge now that he's got his legs under him. You just need that option that Jared Goff can trust. That hey, in a pinch where hey the pressure's coming, he's got an outlet to get the ball and some more 50-50 balls that he can tackle will be great. I think that he's a good fit. And as long as he stays healthy, then I think he'll be a nice piece. Will he get to the level of production as a Josh Reynolds? I don't think so. That is something that was just unique as a friendship. It develops over time. You're not going to get that over a season, but you'll get some level of productivity that's very productive and very much an asset for this football team. But boys, this football team wins by pounding the rock. Focus on the offensive line, pound the rock. If Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery continue to get better throughout the year, you're not stopping this football team. You just control the clock and you play defense. If you are able to run the football effectively in the playoffs, in the regular season, there's going to be injuries. There's going to be scheme advantages that you have. In the playoffs, it's mano a mano. It's grit. It's, hey, run the ball when you need to. Like, you could even argue that those passes to Josh Reynolds maybe should have been runs. But at the same token, they're going to line up. The strategy will be to, put a lot of people in the box, and you got to execute sometimes, by throwing the football. So I can't wait to see the Lions take on the creme de la creme. And it starts with Dallas. They have some advantages. I think the Lions, we'll talk about it next week, but I think the Lions are going to have a good chance to outwork and out-hustle the Cowboys. So it's a good time with the Lions all the way around in regards to, guys, we're talking about in years past, the Lions would have injuries and I'd be crying. I'd be like telling my guy, man, we're doing a preview. A couple guys hurt, they're losing, and they would lose. They'd find ways to lose. Now they're finding ways to win. And it's such a different thing to look at. Like, we're talking advanced scheme. We're talking Ben Johnson on third down. Stop calling toss plays. Pound the rock.
Yeah,
it's
oh my God.
a much better spot to talk football like this than it is to just being like, oh my God, another muff punt, another blown lead, another Hail Mary. Just think of the ways that Jim Caldwell lost games. Dude, I still play some of those rants from the crazy ass ways that the Lions would lose games. They would have leads and then blow it. And the way Matt Patricia, who was a defensive guru but couldn't coach defense. So this is a great time. I'm appreciating every single minute. That's why I think I'm doing so many interviews, is that I just want to keep the positive wave going, because I've talked for hours and hours and hours about bad football. I want to catch up analyzing good football, and you guys have helped me so much, and I appreciate that.
Oh, we love you, Doc. I got a couple listener questions. A couple people have questions for you, Doc, before we get you out of here. First one comes from Booner's daddy. He says, love
the fans, man. Love the people.
Can't confirm or deny if it is Booner's daddy, but he says, with Branch being back in the play of the secondary, does the Doc see the potential for the defense is mixing it up some sets or continuing to stay in the base defense?
Yeah, look, the defense is a work in progress. I do see them staying in base a little bit. I understand the idea for exotic type stuff and doing different type things, but right now I think that as they work in these guys, now the loss of Derek Barnes is a little bit impactful, but the secondary, I think you look at it from the perspective of how they operate. I like the fact that they got two corners that can play man-to-man. I wish that the physicality would be allowed a little bit more. I think the league's targeting them. There's going to be and with how Aaron Glenn operates, you can clearly see it's matchup based. So you're going to have to adjust to when you got a CeeDee Lamb handling business and Dak Prescott. But I've loved the fact that, hey, in certain opportunities, you have to basically keep it simple, pressure the quarterback, and don't let too many explosive plays happen in the secondary. The thing that's been a killer, though, is in the secondary, been a little bit too handsy. And I think in my opinion, I think the Lions publicly stating that they want to kill people and be violent publicly has put a target on their back. And on the latest Lone Wolves podcast, I said that I just think that the league is kind of viewing them as the bad boy Pistons, and they're getting the flags thrown on them to say, hey, you can talk all your S, but we're not going to let you do that. So I just hope that they let them play, because it's not fair to Tyrion Arnold. Some of those calls have been weak. Carlton Davis had to plead to let me play against DK Metcalf. But I think that the defense has been great so far, and Aaron Glenn deserves a lot of credit.
All right. Next question. He said, Nemesis Break says, Doc, when Goff gets another perfect game, how enthusiastic will you be?
Yeah, I'm very enthusiastic. When the Lions play well, hopefully it comes across that I'm excited. But see, to me, and I think maybe it comes across that I'm negative, but I'm more the type of like the Belichick type. Like, I expect them to win. Like that's fine. I'm not the rah-rah cheerleader. I'm like, okay, we won 42-29. How come they didn't win 52-29? Right. So I think that's truly the attitude that I take, because look, I think people realize I'm a fan of Detroit sports. Like there's nobody that would put in the hours to broadcast a decade through rebuilds. If they didn't like the teams that they were covering, you would burn out. But I'm of the mindset, just from my life, from the opinion of like, I could definitely go down the road of I'm great, I've done a lot of this, but to me that stalls out productivity. So I'm more of like, hey, the run game did this. How come they didn't do more? Why did they call that third down play when they could have got that first down? Where are some of the mistakes? So I look at it more from that perspective. So it comes across that I'm being hypercritical, but I think that's how you got to be in life. You just got to look at it like, yeah, I stop and smell the roses basically here with you guys, but out in the real world, I'm all about how do I do the next good story? How do I do, how do I get my guys to stay employed with me? How do I make sure that I don't get booted off the internet? How do I keep paying all the ladies that I keep DMing to not say that I'm DMing them? I'm kidding. I'm
this
kidding.
guy.
I'm kidding.
Hold on.
I'm kidding.
Doc.
But
Doc's just selling himself out here.
no, I'm kidding. And the idea is when the Lions do well, I'm very happy. It's good for business. It's good for motivation, and it's good for everybody involved. I love when the fans are happy, but me personally, when you run a site, like you can't just be one-sided. Like we have that where, hey, the Lions did this well, the Lions did that well. But at the same token, I'm the one that focuses on, okay, how can they do better? Who can improve? Where's an improvement that could be made? That's just how I look at it. But Goff is just the right leader for this Detroit Lions football team right now. But at the same token, if you ask me, at this point, I've always said it, and I'm not hiding from it, I am skeptical that Goff, in the criticalest moment in the Super Bowl, mano a mano versus a Lamar or mano a mano versus Patrick Mahomes, I need to see Jared Goff step in the ring with the king and do some things.
All right. Well, Doc, keep up the great work. We appreciate you so much. And as always, guys, appreciate you always tuning into these Wednesdays with Doc. You know what? It's been fun because we've done so many in the offseason, Doc. Now we get to cover some football with you. So it's great. Link will be in the description. Go read all the Doc stuff. Follow him on X as well. And continue to support the man like he supports us as well. But, Doc, we love you. And we'll talk
you guys.
Love you, Doc.
next week.
Love this hour. I love this hour. And guys, please, if I was DMing people, they would rat me out in just a heartbeat. Look, I'm not Brad Pitt. I don't got that kind of money. People be like, look at this clown. I ain't DM. But I will say, if you want to laugh, I have not laughed this hard. I literally belly laughed. Deion Sanders on Sunday after the NFL games, he went on for 2 hours with Shannon Sharpe. And he literally was clowning on Shannon Sharpe about that video, like true friends would do. I was crying, laughing of like Shannon being like, all right, I got to take it. Deion's like, it's my turn to take shots at you, Shannon. And I had a couple clips on our Twitter page. I belly laughed. Deion is great for sports. I just thought that setting was a pure example of podcasts. I hope that people have started to embrace podcasts as just on the same level as everybody else. What these guys are doing is great. And if you want to laugh, look for Deion Sanders on Shannon Sharpe and Shay Shay. It was funny. And literally Ocho Cinco on the nightcap with Shannon is must watch. Like if you're after a long day, the Pistons lose, Jeff, go watch Shay Shay. You'll feel better and you can go watch the next games.
Hey, Doc, that's my guy. I watch pretty much I try to catch every episode of Night. I just like watching Shannon Sharpe, dude. He's a legend. And Ocho. And Prime together in Ocho.
Yes.
That they need to have, I don't need Prime's coaching, but at some point they got to have a show, all three.
Oh, and I got to and just for the audience, I am happily married with 2 kids. So basically it's what do they call it? In the psychological world, in my expertise, I'm projecting my inner desires to be Don Juan because, in the next life, I'll be George Kittle and I'll just be like, hey, what's up? And the girl will be like, come on over. And I'll be like, all right, let's watch some movies.
Yeah, you know what, Doc? We don't got.
Hey, what movie are you watching, Doc?
We know what you are. We know what you were, and you're still in your prime. But
right,
this guy was a dog. We know he was a dog. You don't need to explain yourself.
I hate to say it, but you got to watch a rom-com so that you can handle business. You got to put them in the mood.
Oh my God.
Oh, the Notebook.
Man,
Turning on the
yeah,
Notebook.
Why Docs
Wow.
came on our show is batting 100 right now. It's just-
I mean, I'm serious. What are you gonna do? You tell him I want to watch Rambo.
Sure.
I want to watch Club Shay Shay. You know what I mean? You gotta listen. You guys like, okay, whatever you want to watch, babe, we'll watch it. And then you got to
You
say,
don't
yeah,
finish it. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
get it, Doc.
Tiger's got Doc feeling some type of way. My God.
Yeah. I like this. Hey, bye week, Doc. Hey,
it's
I
a
like this.
different
Doc.
Doc that we're getting here.
Yeah.
Right. Thanks,
Hey,
guys.
talk to you next week, Doc. Appreciate
I
you
look
so
forward
much.
to it.
Appreciate you, Doc.
And yeah, Doc continues to come on show, support, and he cooks every single time. As always, it's brought to you guys by BetUS. Man, yeah, we get unhinged Doc at sometimes, and I think the bye week Doc there's got to be different Docs. There's bye week Doc. There's Doc after a loss, like lost Doc. I don't know.
There's calm down Doc.
When he's challenged.
We get Doc after dark.
Doc after dark. Yep. After
That's
dark
what we
Doc.
get.
Hey, what's going on there? It's Jeff Iafrate. Appreciate you for finishing the video. You can check out one of the videos here suggested or show support by commenting, liking, and subscribing. And buy your merchandise, officialctsports.com.